I think every year we should learn a new opening. For 2026, my idea is to learn the King's Indian. Why? Because it's an opening that from the 1950s was used by Bronstein, Boleslavsky, and Spassky, and other important players, and then of course Fischer, Kasparov. Um, and it's an opening that is very, very sharp, that it will teach us a lot of things. Uh, at the moment, I didn't use a book. I try to use chess base. Why? Because I try to summarize the important lines and the problems I had. Because, like always, I tried to start to play the King's Indian without learning from any book, and I got slapped brutally. I don't know if they were using a computer or not. The problem is I really lost badly. Why I lost badly? Because I couldn't find a solution in the short time that a blitz game allows. In any case, I don't want to talk to you about my problems. I want to talk to you about the King's Indian, right? So we start immediately with what the King's Indian is, that is d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, and e4. Why this point is important? Because if you reach a certain level, maybe like 1700, in tournament, you will start to feel that often you lose a game because you're not able to control the center. This is the little center and this is the big one, right? When you lose that, you lose the game. And that is what happened to me when I was 1700. Then I learn, I don't know precisely what I learned, but I paid attention and I didn't lose the center. Here, if you are black, and let's say that you never played the King's Indian, what would you play and why? Of course, you could think to play castle, but that's not right, because you would lose the center. So the idea of this move is to fight immediately for e5. Okay? And what do you think white does? He plays knight f3, right? Here, when I started to play the King's Indian, I played this bishop g4, which probably is not the best continuation, but it was because, again, this control the center, this fight again for the center, this block the piece, it pins the piece that is fighting for the center. Yet, in the King's Indian, you can actually play this. You can actually play castle and is not a big deal. Okay? So why is not a big deal? Because in reality, in the King's Indian, the fight is to control the color of the square. So black has a control of dark squares and try to do something about it. And this we know it from the book Zurich 1953, in which Bronstein said that similar thing, no? That at a certain point when he became master level, he understood that the weak squares were of a certain color, but then also the other color became kind of weak. So let's now instead focus only on the moves. Okay. Here we see that black has finished the development of the king side, but by no means has finished the development because I define the end of the opening when one is able to connect the rooks. Okay, so for the moment we just deal with this move, bishop e2. Okay, but there are many alternatives, so don't worry. The King's Indian is big like the Sicilian, and so there are tons and tons of lines. Okay, so why did White play this? Because he want to castle on this side. Okay, and again, now you need to decide what to do. And when I started to play the King's Indian, I didn't have any idea what to do here. I started to do something like this, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if it was the correct thing. Okay, so what did I play here? Here probably the best move is this one. Okay, e5. Why it's the best move? Because again, like I told you, you need to fight and control the center. Okay, this is a strike to an attack to d4. Okay, and it's asking White the question. No, it's asking White, what are you going to do now? Are you going to take? Are you going to block the center? What are you going to do? No? Are you going to play bishop e3? Which in fact I will analyze now. Why? Because bishop e3 is called the Gligoric variation. Okay, so we have this possibility. Or is White playing castle? So as you can see, this move is very, very strong because it starts to keep the central tension. Okay, and or there is, of course, at this point also the other possibility, that is to take on e5. Okay, so this is also a possibility. As you can see, the opening we are learning already at move 7, I think it's 7, has a huge amount of variation, like the Najdorf in the Sicilian, like at move 6, that has like 6, 7, 8 different possibilities, right? But this shouldn't make you afraid, for a simple reason. If you're serious about improving in chess, you need to learn this opening, because this opening will teach you everything about strategy and tactics. So it's up to you. You need to be serious and decide if you really want to improve in chess or not. If you want to take shortcuts and learn a system, I can tell you it will not work, because Fischer tried it. Fischer in the beginning tried to have only one opening. He wanted to play the King's Indian as black, and he was playing the King's Indian attack as white. And the Soviets refuted him quite harshly, and he understood that he had to change. So if a genius like Fischer had to change and couldn't find a solution, clearly us that are not thinking 24 hours a day about chess because we have families, work, and blah blah blah, clearly we cannot do that, right? So let's start with bishop e3, like I told you. This is the Gligoric variation. The idea, when someone played this, but he also played this, is that he doesn't want to tell you where he's going. No? It's waiting. He doesn't want to castle right away, and so this is also a tension, because black from one side gave immediately a target where to attack. White, you don't know. Okay, so it seems for those that have studied the World Championship, and the World Championship games should be something that you should read all the games. You should watch all the games again if you are serious about improving in chess. Why? Because they will give you the fight of the day for certain ideas and certain opening ideas. In this case, I think the last match between Karpov and Kasparov, played in New York and Lyon, gave Kasparov some huge problem with this move. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that you guys can check it out, okay? So that's the thing I remember of this line. Also, if again, I don't really know well the King's Indian defense. I just know a lot of stuff because I have seen a lot of books, and so I've been exposed to some of this idea when I peruse the books, but I didn't play them, okay? So, what should Black do now? What do you think Black should do now? The most direct approach is obviously take in the center, right? Because this opens the diagonal for the bishop that you have here. And there is another advantage. The other advantage is that it opens the e5 for black. So this move, I think it's easy to remember and easy to play in this situation. I try to find moves that are easy to remember because they mean something. And so I hope they will mean something also for you. Now, of course, probably white could play this, okay, which is bishop takes d4. I don't think it's really good, okay, because black wanted to play this, and so it's perfect. You're giving black what he wants. No. Then you have to defend this, because as you can see is attack, right, and only defended once. So let's say he plays this, but guess what, there is bishop h6, and then after f3, knight c6, bishop f2, and knight h5. I think black has a good position and good piece play. Why? Because he will play knight f4, okay? So I think this is a really good position for black, but again, I didn't go too much into details because I don't think most of us will remember more than a certain amount of moves, and I think I went up to maximum of 15, and it's a lot, honestly it's a lot, 15 moves. So what I urge you to do is, you see this position over the board, you need to play at least one game as white and one game as black with this position, because that will give you the lay of the land, right? Now let's return back to the position that we were seeing. I think it was like this, and black just took, and we saw why bishop takes d4, maybe not the best idea. The best it's knight takes d4, okay? So what do you think that black will do? Like I said, it's easy, no? Because in the opening you are creating something you want to attack, and here, that's why you need to remember e takes d4, because you create another attack. and this is the move. That's not bad as idea, right? Now, white has an easy way to strengthen the center that is under attack, right? With this move, f3. But this is a great thing because again gives you another object of attack. What is the other object of attack? This piece here, the bishop e3. Why you can attack it? Because f3 made this weak. So you understand, every move that white makes creates for you a weakness that you can exploit. How will you attack there? Probably the idea should be c6 and d5, no? And then the problem around here becomes clear, right? Guys, I forgot that I didn't put this back. So let's go back in the beginning and let's see again from the beginning the moves. So we try to remember, right? Because like I said, I think today you can do it with the book in the same way. You continue to repeat the same moves over and over, no? Over the board, and that will create a memory, okay? So, tack, play this to stop white from playing e5, white play this, and he reiterate the attack on e5, black continues the development and bring the rook into the game, white play this so he can castle 2, you strike fourth in the center, starting the tension, and white protects d4, but then what do you do now? You do e takes d4 because you want to attack this. And now white takes back, right? And once he takes back, you attack again. Every move you play is development or attack, development or attack. White defend the center, and black plays c6 with the idea of d5 and attacking again the center. Okay? So at this point, white understand that this is the goal, the piece that is not protected, that is hanging right behind. And so what does he do? He plays bishop f2. And again, no, black continue the attack. What is the attack at that point? Again, it's the open e file. And keep in mind that this is a theme that you might have seen in some Kasparov games or in generally top players when they are young and find a less experienced player that keeps too much the king in the center. They generally are able to open thanks to sacrificing something and create a great attack. So d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, and of course now white goes to play immediately castle and take away the king from the center. It's possible that here white plays this, c5, okay? And of course there are some possibilities, and here I think you guys should check online, or if you're chess based, to check the games played with this move. But for the moment, let's focus on this castle, okay? So what do you do now as black? You need to develop your pieces. and so you play knight c6. Here, guys, you start to feel one thing, that what is really important, and I have shown it in some other videos, it's the pawn structure. What about the pawn structure? This is an isolated pawn, right? And it's perfectly blocked at the moment. So would you really take here? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, because that would make black's work very, very easy. Instead, what you want to do here as white is playing this. Why that move? Because if you play this, white now has a queen side majority. What does it mean is that when these two pawns will advance, probably here and here, white will create a pass pawn. And the pass pawn becomes kind of dangerous because it must be blocked. And so you are wasting a piece to try to block it, right? But then it's not only blocking. At a certain point, where the pass pawn goes too far, you need to sacrifice a piece to actually stop it forever. And all of these ideas, you would learn them also from books like Chess Praxis, that shows more than 100 games played by Ninzovic, or Max Ov, I think it's I don't remember the champion number, if it was champion number 5, world champion number 5. He wrote a beautiful video game treatise on which he really dedicate a part to this and show how you win easily. And that's a thing you should read about. Okay, now, since we know the plan of white, we know also what we want to do, no? Black probably wants to attack on this side and also open the diagonal. So the move is this, knight h5. And of course the idea is to jump and play this probably, because you see here's also this, so it's becoming kind of interesting, no? And then of course it could also be an idea for attacking d4. If once you play bishop e5, you could play tack and tack. So as you can see, the knight here is a very profound and strategical idea. So it's not just a knight on the rim that is dim. Be careful, guys, be very, very careful. Okay, next move, it's probably queen d2, because finally white finish the development. And why finish the development? Because the task in the development in the opening phase are you need to develop your pieces, castle, and connect the rooks, and white has done it. Okay, at this point black plays bishop e5, the threat is this, okay, and it's kind of powerful. And then there is also a threat here, okay, to take here. So it's kind of powerful situation. Of course, white cannot really allow this thing because it would be crazy, and so plays g3 to avoid that black plays that move. No? But like I told you, that's why this knight here is very, very strong, because he plays knight g7. Boom, done. And of course the idea could be to play or knight e6 or knight f5, Again, at this point we are like at move 15. To give you more than this, I don't think you will remember, but at this point I think you should find some games on this kind of line and see what are the typical maneuvers and position. If you don't find any games, what do you have to do? You have to, if you don't want to play yourself, put this position between two engines and watch few games how they played, because that will tell you a lot. Okay? And then once you see how the engines play, it's probably a good idea to try to play it yourself, because once more you will need that kind of experience before going into a tournament and using the King's Indian. Now I pause the video briefly and continue to show you another variation. Okay, I put the pieces back because in this fourth video I want to give you a kind of a big view of all the normal variation that happens in the King's Indian, and then we will eventually deepen them when I have time, because unfortunately I work, guys. Oh, fortunately I work, because chess is not really paying my bills. So d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4. Like we said, what do you have to do now? If you don't know, pause the video and figure it out, because the move is d6 to avoid that white can play this. Like we have seen, white plays knight f3, castle, bishop e2, and here we ask the question to white, what do you want to do, right? In the previous line that I show you, there was this, and we call it the Gligoric variation, because it was this famous Yugoslavian player from the past that played it fourth, or maybe, you know, not fourth, but he was one that elaborated the ideas in that period. Now we watch d5. If you know who is the master of the close games, the world champion that like to love to play close situation, you can imagine the name of this variation. The name is the Petrosian Variation, which was invented and made popular by the world champion Petrosian in the late, I think, 50s and 60s. Like I told you, the period that Fischer was growing up had all these players focusing on this, and so it's kind of interesting. What is the idea behind this one? The idea is this and this. So it's not only closing the center, but it's starting an attack on the queen side, right? So what do you do here? What do you do here? Black plays knight bd7, because the idea behind this move is to keep an eye on c5, right? Why on c5? Because if this can jump here, then the attack is on this, right? So that's why it can be important. But of course you need to stop white from playing b4, right? Probably, if I remember well, this was one of the moves that they use to fight for this variation against Petrosian because they wanted to prevent this. But how did they do it? Because after they would play this and this, the idea was always that, but they wanted to prevent this. And this instead, it's a more modern take of that, okay? But again, and this is why I tell you it's important to see the games of the World Championships or the games of great players like Fischer did in the beginning of his career, but he would just watch at least 100 games of each world champion. Why did he do that? Because it would show you the evolution of the ideas. So after this move was played, Petrosian had a problem, right? And Petrosian played bishop g5 to try to refute this. Because this kind of pin, it's kind of very important. It's kind of very important. How do you fight against that? No? This was the move which fight against bishop g5. Of course, now white needs to go back. Why? Because once more I tell you, they don't like grandmaster level players. They don't exchange right away if they can avoid it the bishop pair, because the bishop pair is a kind of advantage. Okay, so he would play this, bishop h4, and of course black would play g5, okay, and this forced white to go back. Once more, what do you think is the next move played by black? Why do I ask you this? Because sometimes we have this terrible idea that the knight on the rim is dim. As we can see, for the King's Indian, this is not totally true. Bishop, knight h5, it's interesting because he's trying to or take or go here, depending on what white does at this point. White, this I think it's the main move that was played in Petrosian time to fight against black's kingside expansion. And now what do you do? I ask you this question because, as you can see, it's kind of important, right? Why it's important? Because you will find yourself in this situation and you don't have any idea. No? You play this move because you want to attack this. And of course, white plays knight h2 because there is an attack on g4. No? And here, once more, you need to decide what to do. No? How do you save this pawn? Because this is behind this. So how do you save it? And this attack 1, 2, 3 times, so it becomes a little difficult, right? So the only way, or the way that you can save this pawn is with this move, knight takes g3. And once you play knight takes g3, there is f takes g3 and h5, boom, and this has done it, right? So now it's white turn because he has a problem, right? This is the Makogonov rules, practically. When you have a piece that is kind of passive, you need to activate that piece. How do you activate the knight from h2 will definitely change the game, no? Because you could easily reroute this, right? Or sacrifice on here in some ways, right? So we have two possibilities, this or sacrifice, I think. Now, can white play this immediately? Probably no, because black would play this right away. So this is a passive piece, but you need to reactivate it at the right moment. Okay. So probably the right move is F castle, obviously. After which, you still have a problem here, because now there is a rook that was here doing nothing, totally out of the game, but it's in the game. And so a possible sacrifice on this to open the line is kind of not only possible, but important. So what do you think black should do in this position? Well, I ask you a question, guys. It's time to pause the video and think for a few minutes. The right move in this position is probably this one, knight c5, because it protects this g4. Okay, so now to make that sacrifice means to lose a lot of pieces, and then you don't have enough material to defend or to attack, now if you are white. Maybe, guys, before this move we can see another thing. For example, bishop h6 is something I would tell you to watch, because it's probably a mistake, since white will sacrifice and attack. I don't know if you can see it. It's tack, 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 attacking this, and then he has to go back, right? Once he goes back, it could be dangerous at this point. I don't know, try to check it out with an engine. I don't have the engine here because I generally try to avoid to use it because I don't want to be biased about something. So let me return back to the position that it was. And we said that the best move is this, because it avoids all the trouble of possible sacrifices on g4 and the white to have a line of attack. b4, and so now we discover why this move knight c5, knight d7, c5 was good. Because he goes back, no? But at this point the threat is this. So as you can see, the variation has been reinterpreted during the decades, and the move that was forth with this idea is now okay again with this idea after black has provoked white into attacking. No? So we will see more later about this. Now I want to show you another line again. So we try to give you a total eye view of the King's Indian, and you see if you like it or not. Because after all, you need to feel something for the opening. Maybe you don't feel nothing, so it's better you don't play it. But if you like it, it could be a weapon that lasts a lifetime. Okay, so I brought back the pieces, and now we see another line. Okay, so d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. Okay, knight f3, castle, bishop e2, and then we have this amazing move that is e5, challenging immediately white in the center. We have seen what happens with the Gligoric variation, bishop e3. We have seen what happens with the Petrosian variation, d5. And now we see finally the exchange variation. Every time that there is an exchange, we call it the exchange variation. Boom. Okay. As always, also in the French, the famous French exchange, it may seem harmless, but if your opponent has more ideas than you will lose. Because this kind of variations, it always seems that you are going to draw, and it's not a draw if your opponent wants to play for a win. Okay, so please be careful, because after d takes c5, obviously there is queen d8, and like we know from Magnus Carlsen, he clearly says that once the queens are off the board, he knows how to win. If he was white, he knows how to win, right? But in reality, this pawn structure is very favorable for black. Why? Because there is a difference between the two formations. Black can put a knight here and it cannot be dislodged, let's say, okay? White cannot put a knight here because c6 dislodges. So as you can see, there is a difference between the two formations, but it's very, very important to understand, okay? So what do you think white is going to do? White needs to finish the development, and so he will play something like bishop g5, no? And here again I tell you, try to watch as many games as you can with this variation, because it will give you the ideas on how to play. Okay, so for example you could tell me, but why white didn't take this? No, I mean, it seems logical. And I didn't tell you why, because on some things I want you guys to think, right? And what does think mean? That there is this move, and obviously it's really great for black because he now has an open diagonal. So this move is not good. It's not something you should try to play. That's why bishop g5 is probably the best. But what do you do now as black? Because clearly you have a problem, no? This is gonna be attack, and you need to defend it in some ways. But how do you defend it? Well, it seems that we must be open-minded in the King's Indian defense, because yes, we have this diagonal, this file, but can we really enter in it? No, because this is control, right? This is control by this, so you don't really have the d file. And so the move in this case is rook e8. Why rook e8? because you are defending this and unpinning this knight. So that's why rook e8 is the move to play. Here white played knight d5, okay? And this knight has to be eliminated because you want to put your other knight here, but it means that you need to eliminate something else, right? So this is a great thing that we will learn from Fischer. He continued to exchange the right pieces at the right moment to achieve what he wants. So this guy takes, and here you can start to hit white with a little jab, right? Boom! You ask him, what are you going to do? No? And in this case is also a good thing because maybe this pawn was going to be weak due to the fact that white could play rook c1, probably. So white could play bishop c4 at this point. Takes. And what do you think black is going to play? Here, guys, you really have to think for a minute or two, because you must not play a natural move, that is knight c6, because here it's not doing nothing. Instead, there is a much stronger knight move, which is this one, knight d7. Why it's good, this move? Because he will be able to control this square d5 and f6. So it's kind of very, very important. So I leave you at this point, and we go to see another variation. The idea here is this or this, or this or this. That's why, as you can see, between this and this there is a huge difference in value, and I hope you will appreciate it in your game. Now let's go to see the next variation. I want to give you a total view of the opening, and then you will decide if you like to play it or not. Okay guys, now we are going to tackle the real big and huge theoretical variation that is the main line of the King's Indian. And there is no way to give you all this material to digest without making an indigestion, because you will see it's a lot of material, okay? So we have d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4 with the idea of this. You immediately prevent that, knight f3, castle, bishop e2, and e5. That is the main problem, right? That we give to white. What does white do here? What do you think white is going to do? Is going to castle. And now there is the move that I told you I think I played, but I didn't really know how to played. Also, if it was a little different, I played it before e5. I went immediately with bishop g4. Now, also this move is something that they played from the 1950s. So if you get a collection of games on the King's Indian, you will see this move, but it's a little rare, okay? Well, it seems that this same move was used by Caruana in 2021 against Wojciech. I don't know if I pronounce his name right, sorry. Why it's a logical move? Because you're fighting again for the center, right? With bishop g4. So it's kind of important. But white plays bishop e3, trying to support the center, okay? And now black needs to decide what to do. What do you do with that bishop g4? Often, guys, when your opponent does a move, they already have set their mind and know what they are going to do. So this bishop here wants to be exchanged. And so black will take on f3. What can white do? Obviously not this, because not so good. He plays bishop takes f3, right? But at this point, then finally black is able to open the long diagonal with this move. He takes d4. Of course, oh yeah. So now the advantage of this e takes d4 is the following: that practically black can have access to his for his knight of c6, then he can control this too. It's a perfect situation for black. And white obviously needs to play this move, right, bishop? But now, what do you do as black? This is the move, knight c6. Why it's the move? Because obviously white doesn't want to lose the bishop pair and is returning back. But in returning back, you have gained a tempo because you develop a piece, and white didn't do nothing, right? So bishop e3 is the thing, no? And at the moment, white's bishop pair is not so strong. Why? Because the light square bishop is very limited by this, okay? So here as black, you generally play what? You play this move because you don't want white to be able to push this, because then the light square bishop would be stronger, right? So that's why you want to control that. And then of course here you have ideas of this opening, and this can go here. So it's a great position for black. Now let's check the next line of the classical main line of the kids, and let's see what white does that could change the cards on the table. Okay, we continue our journey in the King's Indian main line with a more depth approach to the possibility of this opening. And of course, this is just an overview. I hope you guys write down the moves I'm showing you, because you have to do two things. One, to play games with it, possibly against an engine, so you understand the problem of the opening, and to see possible games played by great players like Petrosian, Fischer, Kasparov, because they will open your eyes to what these players did in order to overcome the challenges that the other player tried to put on them, right? So we were here and we saw that black played bishop g4, okay? So after bishop g4, we saw that white can play this d5 to avoid the problem of an exchange and opening the diagonal, right? And what does black do at this point? Since the center is blocked, generally we say you can start an attack on the wings. In this case, black should attack on this side, a5. No? Why? Because a5 prevents white from playing b4 and allows black to play this thing, right? To go on c5. So that's the real idea behind, okay? So white plays bishop g5 because it pins the knight, right? And now black continues development, that is knight a6. Here there is an exchange that white should do. And is this, knight e2, sorry, knight d2. What's the exchange? The exchange is on e2. Why black should exchange here? Why black should play this move? Because he doesn't want to waste the tempo retreating. And then, of course, you can give him a little better attack on the king side. White takes, and of course, at this point, black needs to unpin this. How does he do it? He does it like this, with queen d7, okay? And this was the other main line that I wanted to show you. But what is the plan for black here? The plan should be something like this, knight h5 and f5, and probably to go on f4. So why it's important to know the plan, and how do you know it? Like I told you, you know it because you have watched enough games of a King's Indian with this main variation, okay? So that's kind of important. Okay guys, as you can see, we are not even in the middle of this overview that I'm doing, and we are at 1 hour. So clearly you are in front of something that is huge. And I don't want to scare you guys, but again, you want to improve in chess, you need to learn openings like this. You cannot cut the corners. Why? Because if you cut the corner, you will not learn anything. Instead, here, just with this hour, you have understood a lot of different ideas, a lot of strategic ideas on what happens when the center is closed, when there is the exchange, when there is the attack on the side. This is the real deal in chess, right? And now you know why you play this move, because you want to block e5. So clearly it's giving you a lot of material to chew and a lot of ideas. But on the same time, you need to spend the time to study it, right? So you cannot escape from that. And why do I continue to show you from the beginning? Because you will believe me, when you will be in the tension of the battle, you will not remember it. So that's why you also need to do the same thing. When I move a move, you should try to move it on your board, because that will help you. From this side, from the black side, because you want to play the black side of a King's Indian. Why did I use the computer? Because I'm tired of books on the King's Indian that have the diagrams oriented from the white side. I mean, when I want to see something for black, when I want to learn an opening for black, sorry, I want to learn it from the black side, right? I don't want to learn it from the white side. Okay? So I want to be honest about this, because it's something that is upsetting, especially with what the books cost today. Because I'm sorry, a book costs a minimum of $29 or more, is not little. Okay, so before we saw this line, what should white play? No? Here I want to show you a move that, in my opinion, maybe it's not very played often at top level. But where I play and where you will play is not top level. You're not playing against 2700 grandmasters, 2700 rated grandmaster. You are playing against a 1500 that will play this move. And so you want to know what to do against it, right? In this case, obviously you need to take. No? He needs to take. Why he should not go back? Because if he goes back, white can, like this, since here you cannot go, here you cannot go, only thing is here. Definitely you don't want to go there, right? White plays c5, boom, and there is immediately a queenside attack, practically. So, and if you take this fall down, right? So it can become messy, because there is something to attack. Before there wasn't something, and so you couldn't really attack because it takes back. So let me show you, just to be sure that you understand. Here there is something to take, right? So not so bad, probably. But again, try to check it with computer, okay? Just to be sure that we are all on the same thing. Sorry. So we are in this position, and black cannot retreat, like we see, and should take on f3. Okay, bishop takes f3, and now you have to play what? You play knight b d7. Again, that's kind of important. Okay. So what is the goal for black in this position? That he wants to push f5, but of course he can't, because there is this in front, right? So he needs to move that knight, no? And then he needs to exchange probably the dark square bishop. so he can really take control of some important squares. No? So in this case, probably to exchange the dark square bishop is a good idea because it's quite constricted, as you can see, right? It's not really in a good position, it's not really active. Okay? So what do you think that white is going to play here? Like I told you, it's a control of the center, the fight for the center. h3, remove g4 as possibility, so now white can play bishop e3 because he's fighting for c5. Okay. What should the black do here? I told you that you should play f5, right? But how do you play it? Because you have to remove this, where? Here, on e8. Then there is a3 by white because he wants to attack on the queen side, and f5 is the move played by black. Now, in this case, I think, guys, that black is gonna have a good position because after b4, bishop f6, with the idea of bishop g5, black has a kind of strong attack on the king side. And the king side, it's more important than the queen side, because the queen side you win, yes, thanks to a pawn majority. But on the king side, you win because you checkmate the enemy king. So I think it's a kind of interesting stuff that we are witnessing here, right? Let's go again to another main opening line. I'm sorry the video is becoming long, but that's part of the deal for learning the King's Indian. And then, of course, when I will have a certain amount of likes and comments on this video, I will know if you guys like it and want me to show you more and go really deep into the opening. Okay, I see that we have passed the 1 hour line. I will just make one more line to show you guys and see if you like it or not. And then, of course, I will do more videos if I see that there is interest in learning the King's Indian defense. So, like I said, d4, knight f6, c4, g6. I want to learn it this year because I think it's worth it, because it will open our minds as chess players, and it will help us to also add some variety, so our usual opponent at club level or in tournament will not know that we have learned this opening and we are ready to deploy it in tournament games, because we have done a big work in watching games, playing games in it, and so when we are ready, we go, right? And it will be a big surprise for our opponents over the board. So we saw the blocking, e5 to prevent b4, and control c5 because that was the idea, or knight d7 or here, right? h3 to ask black to decide what you want to do with that bishop, and black says no problem, I give it back to you. And then, of course, we start with the line that we saw in the previous part of the video, and finally we have a new move that is a3, where white starts his attack on the queen side. Like I said, I have seen some games with this line as black, and it's kind of scary because I don't think the attack on the queen side is fast enough. But I want you to pause the video and try to find out what would you play as black, okay? Because here you will not find that move easily. That's why I continue to tell you, pause the video, try to put yourself in that person's shoes, in this case black shoes, and try to find the right move. The right move here is boom, h5, an amazing move, amazing move. So what is the idea? No? Here there are two possible plans. One is knight h5, bishop here and bishop here, okay? Or the other is this and this. So you have two possible different plans, okay? Rook b1 because he wants to attack. So black plays knight h5, sorry, h7, with the idea bishop f6 and g5, b4, bishop f6, and knight b5. And here black plays this bishop g5, that if white tries to avoid the exchange like this, the white pieces become less active. So this is a good position for black. And with this I stop my recording because I have done more than 1 hour. I know it's not complete. There is still a lot of material. I think I should make another video of another hour in order to cover just the main lines and the overview of the main lines. But at the same time, I don't know if you guys like it, because maybe you don't like it, guys, and I don't want to waste time in this. I want to waste time in something that is more interesting for the viewer and subscribers of a channel. For me, it's important that every year we try something new, so we keep our chess mind flexible instead of fossilizing on the same opening over and over. Thank you for watching. See you next time.